And there's an amazing story which I hadn't really realised before, that one of these little islands off the side of Tahiti, they basically turn up and say, look, please don't attack us. It's okay. Like, Bligh, who is over there on the ship still, wink. Captain Cook, who by this stage was already dead.
He sure was. He was deader than hell.
He was well dead. We're gonna, but they, the locals there had heard of Captain Cook, and they were kind of like, fond of his legend, and they were like, me and Bligh and Captain Cook are going to set up this new settlement. So you give us loads of stuff, give us some livestock, and give us some trade goods, and like come with us and help out, because we're going to set up this new place, and like we'll be back later on for that. And they try and do that for a couple of months, but essentially then they go back, and by that point another British ship has turned up at this island off of Tahiti and told the Tahitians that Fletcher Christian was full of shit. They were like, no, Cook's dead, guys. What the fuck?
Your cousins over in Hawaii murdered the shit out of him years ago.
Yeah. And that then leads to Cook going to Fletcher Christian going, fuck, I need to get out of here now. I got no plan. Which basically bundles the crew back on the Bounty. There's a kind of, again, horrible story here where it looks like they're sort of having some kind of like soiree, basically, and they wait until there are enough women on board, local women, for the number of mutineers that were left, which is like 16. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, fuck it, let's go. There's enough women here that we can have one each.
It was a traditional British bride kidnapping.
Yeah, like fully, like, I mean, and again, this becomes a kind of source of much consternation later on. And then, although there are still some Tahitian men on board as well, Christian like cuts the two anchors, leaves them behind in the bay, and like heads off for Pitcairn. So that's the kind of story of the mutiny, more or less. So we end up with 16 sailors left on Tahiti. You have 9 mutineers, and 20 Polynesians, of whom 14 were women. So that's the division, and I'm particularly interested. We'll talk about what happens on Pitcairn, but and we'll get to tattooing, I suppose, in a second. But that's
nothing good happens on Pitcairn Island to this day.
Nothing. Oh yeah, Jesus Christ, nothing good happens on Pitcairn. But we end up with this basically, 9 members of the crew, who are, let's give you their names. I have the list here. So we have Fletcher Christian, Ned Young, who I want to talk about, he's interesting, John Adams, Matthew Quintal, William Brown, Isaac Martin, John Mills, John Williams, and William McCoy. 6 Polynesian men, and 12 Tahitian women, who are called in their native tongue, Maimiti, Teatura, Teo, Vanuatu, Oberoi, Tavura, Tatuahitie, Fahutu, Tufaiti, Mareva, and Tinafonea, as well as a little baby girl called Sarah. So there you go. That's basically the mutiny on the Bounty, and there's a whole kind of like aftermath of that. Bligh gets back to London and is fucking furious.
Yeah, his arms must have been so sore.
Dude, he must have been just jacked. The large, he has like Eddie Hall's arms, but with like a tiny, like emaciated sailor's body.
Imagine the calluses on his hands.
I mean, on his hands, on his ass, like, you know. Yeah.
He's become a boat centaur at this point. He cannot exist in any other way. Just crawl it. He walks using just his hands.
But it's through basically his attempts to kind of explain what happened and to kind of, seek some vengeance and justice that we get all of this interesting stuff about tattoos, and tattoos become a really big part of the storytelling right from the very kind of earliest moments of this coming into the public conception. Right. So when Bligh gets back, he tries to kind of explain basically like who the fuck did this to him. Right. He sort of makes a list essentially of like of all of the mutineers. The original documents are all, you can see them all online. There's a good website called whalesite.org where they have lots of original or scans of the originals of the loads and loads of the mutiny documents. And basically Bligh he lists like, almost like, kind of Arya Stark in Game of Thrones, like he sort of lists like all of the people that have wronged him. Like he lists all of the mutineers. He lists their complexions. He lists what they look like, basically, how tall they are. And then he also lists their marks, distinguishing marks. And they're a kind of litany of like shit that happens to people at sea. So Matthew Thompson lost the joint of the great toe of his right foot. William McCoy stabbed in the belly.
I know I shouldn't be laughing at this, but it's just like, of course, this is what sailors in the 1800s look like. Like, oh, that's toeless Jimmy.
Yeah.
That guy got stabbed in the gut for some reason.
Thomas Burkitt, very much pitted with the smallpox.
They call him Holy Face. They call him Crater Face.
Henry Hilbrand, the German, his left arm is shorter than the other, having been broken.
Just consecutively breaking your arm and it gets shorter and shorter.
We call him Biggie Smalls.
Alexander Smith, scar on the right foot where he's been cut by a wood axe. Right? So like these guys are absolutely like fucked up.
So you're there trying to chop wood and you miss and just hit yourself straight in the foot.
William...
I knew I should have been bracing the wood with my foot. Damn it.
William Brown, a remarkable scar on one of his cheeks which contracts the eyelid and runs down his throat, occasioned by the King's Evil, which is...
What the fuck does that even mean?
King's Evil is what they call scrofula, tuberculosis of the lymph nodes. So he's got this crazy scar like all the way down his face.
He's got like an anime scar going all the way down to his tuberculosis nodes.
Yeah.
These guys are disgusting.
So these guys are absolutely fucked up. Someone points out, there's loads of writing about this. Someone points out none of these men are described of having like flogging marks on them, for example, right? Stuff that clearly loads of them would have had flogging marks, either from being in this ship or just in general having been in the Navy. So the Navy aren't that interested in recording the marks that were inflicted by the Navy.
All of their backs purely untouched as the virgin snow. However, they're all riddled with the flux, whatever the fuck that means.
The King's Evil. The King's Evil. But of course, in those lists, right, is loads and loads of descriptions of tattoos. So we have essentially 4 mutineers have no tattoos. 3 mutineers have date markings. 3 mutineers are marked with a heart, 2 of which have like darts through them. 7 mutineers, and this is interesting and we'll come to more, have tatau designs, so sort of local designs. 5 mutineers are described as tattoos. 6 mutineers are described as very much tattooed. So we have 3 hearts, 4 dates, 1 set of initials, 1 name, 1 Order of the Garter, and Motel Oni Swaki Malipons, which is like, if you got that today, it'd be a kind of cool like Prince of Wales tattoo, I guess.
And what?
I'm just picturing these guys in like a Yakuza bodysuit, but it's like, so they're British, supposed to be British, so it's full of nothing but like cry laugh emojis.
Well, no, you're missing one of them, Matt. One of them just having like a full black and grey sleeve of an XL bully.
Oh yeah. Well, we have, and this
Chewie got a child.
Flex for Christian, a Manx tattoo known as a Triskelion, so the 3-footed and a Latin motto, quoquunque yeces stab it. Wherever you throw it, it will stand. What do we think that means? Like live, laugh, love for the 18th century.